Picture this. You walk into the airport with nothing in your hands, no printed ticket, no passport out, not even your phone raised yet. And somehow you are already through the first checkpoint. A camera looked at your face for less than 2 seconds, and it already knew exactly who you are. This is not a movie scene. This is what airports look like right now in 2026, and most travelers over 40 are still walking in expecting the old system, the paper boarding pass, the long line, the officer checking your ID line by line. That world is fading fast. And if you do not understand what changed, you could end up standing in the slowest line at the airport while everyone else walks straight to the gate. So stay with us, because these next few minutes could save you real time on your very next trip. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly which habits to drop and which new tools to trust, because the travelers who get stuck at security in 2026 are rarely the ones breaking rules. They are simply the ones still following instructions that quietly stopped applying months ago. Before we go further, if you are planning any trip this year, domestic or international, hit subscribe to Fly Smart After 70, because we break down exactly what is changing at airports, so you are never the one holding up the line. Now, let us get into it. Number 1. Facial recognition becomes the mind system. For decades, the airport identity check worked one way. You handed over a printed ticket, an officer looked at your face, then looked at your ID, then looked at your face again, slow, manual, human. That system is no longer the main system. In 2026, facial recognition has quietly become the primary way most major airports confirm who you are. Smart cameras are placed at checkpoints, at bag drop, and at boarding gates. And they verify your identity in seconds. No paper, no fumbling for your wallet, just a glance at a screen, and you move forward. This is the backbone of what airports now call biometric boarding, a process where passengers can board a flight using only their face as confirmation. No boarding pass scan required. No ID check at the gate, just a look at the camera, and the gate agent sees a green light. Airlines love this because it speeds up boarding dramatically. Biometric boarding allows gate operations to move faster, which means departures leave closer to schedule. And airports love it because facial recognition dramatically reduces checkpoint waiting times. Fewer bottlenecks, fewer delays, fewer frustrated travelers stacking up at the front of the line. But here is what most people over 50 do not realize. This system did not replace your identification. It replaced the manual checking of it. Your passport or your real ID is still tied to your profile behind the scenes. The camera is simply reading what used to require a human to squint at your driver license photo. So if your appearance has changed significantly since your last passport photo was taken, that mismatch can actually slow you down instead of speeding you up, which brings us to something important later in this video. So keep watching. And consider this too. A decade ago, a security officer could look at a tired photo from your 20s and still wave you through because they use their judgment. A camera does not use judgment. It compares pixels and patterns. And while that makes the system faster for almost everyone, it also means the margin for a mismatch is smaller than it used to be. So the very technology built to make your trip easier can become the reason you get pulled aside if your profile is not current. And that single detail is something we will come back to because it quietly affects far more travelers than most people expect. Number 2, your phone becomes your entire travel document. The second major shift is just as big as facial recognition, And it might affect you even more directly. Printed boarding passes are disappearing, mobile boarding passes have replaced them. At the vast majority of airport counters and gates, your phone screen with a barcode is now treated exactly the same as a paper ticket used to be. But it goes much further than that. Airport apps now handle check-in, seat selection, and boarding passes all inside a single app on your phone. You can check in from your couch the night before, choose your seat with a few taps, and walk into the airport with your entire journey already loaded onto your device. No counter needed, no printer needed. And for travelers who only bring carry-on luggage, this changes the entire airport experience. Carry-on, only travelers can often skip check-in counters entirely, walking directly from the entrance to the security checkpoint because their phone already holds everything an agent would need to see. This is where a lot of travelers over 50 get caught off guard because the instinct built over decades is to print everything, just in case. And while having a backup is never a bad idea, the airport experience is now built around the assumption that your phone is your ticket, your boarding pass, and increasingly, part of your identification. And here is the part that surprises people most. Some airlines have quietly stopped printing boarding passes at certain counters altogether. So if your phone battery dies at the wrong moment, that is no longer a small inconvenience. It can genuinely stop you from boarding, which is why so many experienced travelers now keep a portable charger in their carry-on, not as a luxury item, but as a basic travel document backup, because in a system built entirely around your screen, a dead battery is the modern version of losing your ticket. Number 3, you can say no, but there is a cost. Here is something airports are not always upfront about. You are not required to use facial recognition. Travelers can legally opt out of facial recognition at almost every checkpoint that uses it. This is your right, whether it is for privacy reasons, religious reasons, or simply because you are not comfortable with the technology. No one can force that camera on you, but there is a trade-off that catches people off guard every single time. When you opt out, you are moved into manual screening. And manual screening in 2026 is slower than it has ever been because the entire airport flow is now designed around the assumption that most people are moving through the automated lane. So the manual lane becomes the exception, not the norm, which means fewer staff, more waiting, and more detailed checks once you reach the front. So the real question becomes this: is the privacy worth the extra time? For some travelers, absolutely yes, and that choice should always be respected. But if you are opting out simply because you did not know there was another option, that is where trips start running late. And this matters even more if you are traveling with a connecting flight, because 30 extra minutes at the first checkpoint can quietly eat into the buffer you built for your layover. So before you decide, ask yourself honestly whether this is a decision based on genuine preference or simply an old habit carried over from years of flying a different way, because one of those reasons is worth the wait, and the other one is just a mistake waiting to happen. Number 4, your passport and your phone are merging. Facial recognition and mobile boarding passes are only part of the picture. The next layer is digital identification itself. Digital passports are becoming part of seamless airport travel, meaning your passport information can now be linked digitally to your profile at participating airports, instead of physically handing over the booklet at every step. And alongside this, mobile IDs are accepted at participating TSA checkpoints, A mobile ID being a secure digital version of your driver license or state ID stored directly on your phone. This sounds incredibly convenient, and for many travelers, it is. But the key word here is participating. Not every airport, not every checkpoint, and not every state has rolled this out the same way. So travelers should verify mobile ID support before arriving, because assuming your phone alone will get you through security, only to find out that specific checkpoint does not accept mobile ID yet, is exactly the kind of mistake that causes missed flights. This is not a system that works everywhere the same way yet. It is rolling out unevenly, city by city, airport by airport, and the travelers who do well are the ones who check ahead of time instead of assuming. A quick look at your airline app or your airport website the night before your flight tells you exactly what that terminal supports. And it takes less time than waiting for your coffee order, yet it is the single step that separates a traveler who glides through the terminal from one who is standing at a kiosk, trying to figure out why their phone will not scan. Technology like this rewards the prepared and quietly punishes the confident. So, a little research before you leave home goes a very long way once you are standing under those terminal lights, and it is worth remembering that this rollout is still expanding month by month. So an airport that did not support these tools 6 months ago might fully support them today, which means checking again before each trip is a better habit than relying on what you remember from your last flight. Number 5, the lanes are getting faster, but only if you are ready. Security screening itself has changed shape entirely. AI-powered security lanes move passengers through screening faster than the checkpoints of just a few years ago. These lanes use smarter scanning technology that reduces the need for manual bag checks, and combined with programs like TSA PreCheck, the difference in speed is dramatic. TSA PreCheck lanes feature faster scanners and automatic bin returns, meaning you keep your shoes on, your laptop stays in the bag, and the belt resets itself without an officer manually pushing bins back to the start. And if you already use Clear for identity verification, the advantage multiplies. Clear works best when combined with TSA PreCheck, because Clear handles the identity step at record speed, while PreCheck handles the physical screening step at record speed. Together, they cut your total security time down to a fraction of what a standard line takes. But none of this works if your paperwork is not current. PreCheck and global entry renewals should be completed early, because renewal backlogs have grown as more travelers rush to sign up and showing up at the airport only to discover your PreCheck status expired last month means you are standing in the exact same line as someone with no fast pass at all. And there is one more twist worth knowing. Some of these renewal applications now take longer to process than they did just a couple years ago, simply because so many travelers are applying at once. So waiting until a month before your trip to renew is often too late. The smart approach is treating your PreCheck and global entry status the same way you treat your passport expiration. Checked well in advance, never assumed, because the fastest lane in the airport does you no good if your membership quietly lapsed while you were not looking. Number 6, the McKinds are watching your luggage too. It is not just identity checks that have changed. The physical process of dropping off your bag has been automated as well. Self-service kiosks are replacing traditional airline counters at a rapid pace, allowing you to print tags, confirm your flight, and move straight to bag drop without ever speaking to a staff member. And once your bag reaches that point, Automated bag drop stations are now common at major airports, meaning a machine, not a person, tags your suitcase and sends it down the belt. This sounds simple and mostly harmless, until you run into the one detail that catches so many travelers. Automated bag drop systems instantly reject overweight luggage. There is no friendly conversation with an agent who might let it slide, no charming your way past an extra 2 pounds. The scale reads the number, and if it is over the limit, the machine simply will not accept the bag until you remove something or pay the fee on the spot. This is one of the clearest examples of how airport technology rewards travelers who prepare in advance. Weighing your bag at home before you ever leave for the airport takes 5 minutes and saves you from a stressful scramble at the counter. And here is the detail most travelers miss. Because there is often no staff member standing right there to help you shuffle items between bags on the spot, you may find yourself crouched on the floor of a busy terminal, repacking in front of a line of strangers, simply because a machine flagged 3 extra pounds. So a small luggage scale kept at home, used once before you pack your final bag, has quietly become one of the most useful travel tools of the entire decade. And the same logic applies to your carry-on. Self-service kiosks and automated systems are designed around exact numbers, not friendly estimates. So a bag that always used to slide by is no longer guaranteed to slide by simply because it looks close enough. Number 7, the things technology has not replaced. With all of this automation, it is easy to assume that traditional identification does not matter anymore. That is simply not true. Real ID or a passport is still essential at unsupported checkpoints, meaning any airport or lane that has not adopted the newer biometric systems will still require the exact same physical identification have carried for years. And even where digital systems are active, small details still matter enormously. Booking names must exactly match government identification. A middle name left off your ticket, a maiden name still on your passport. Small inconsistencies like these can flag your entire check-in process for manual review. And closely related to that, passport photos should accurately reflect your current appearance, because facial recognition systems compare your live face to that photo, and if years have passed since it was taken, that gap can cause delays. Instead of the fast pass experience the technology promises, contactless airport journeys eliminate most document checks. But most is not all, and the travelers who assume every single step is now automatic are the ones most likely to be surprised when a human still asks for that physical passport. And this is exactly why so many seasoned travelers still carry their passport or their real ID in an easily accessible pocket, not buried at the bottom of a bag, because even in the most advanced airports, there is almost always a moment where a person, not a machine, wants to see it with their own eyes. Treating your physical identification as optional, simply because the technology feels seamless, is one of the quiet mistakes catching travelers off guard this year, and a simple habit fixes this completely. Keep your ID or passport in the same pocket or the same pouch every single time you fly, so reaching for it becomes automatic instead of a moment of searching while a line forms behind you. A habit this small takes almost no effort to build, yet it removes one of the most common sources of stress at any checkpoint, old or new, automated or manual. Number 8, how to actually stay ahead of all of this. So what does all of this mean for your next trip? It means the airport experience in 2026 rewards preparation more than it ever did before. Check your pre-check and global entry expiration dates today, not the week before you fly. Confirm whether your departure airport supports mobile ID before you rely on it. Keep a current, accurate passport photo and double check that every name on your booking matches your identification exactly. Download your airline app in advance and complete check-in from home whenever the option is available. And if you know you are only bringing a carry-on, plan your route through the airport, assuming you can skip the counter entirely. None of these steps take more than a few minutes individually, but together, they are the difference between walking through the airport calmly and standing in a line wondering why everyone else seems to be moving faster than you. And if you want a simple rule to remember all of this by, think of it this way. The old airport rewarded patience. You waited in line and eventually you got through. The new airport rewards preparation. The paperwork, the app, and the profile all need to be ready before you ever walk through those doors. And once you make that shift in mindset, everything else on this list becomes a lot easier to follow. Number 9, this affects every age of traveler, not just one. It is easy to assume these changes only matter to travelers who grew up with paper tickets and typewriters, but that is not accurate at all. A 25-year-old who has never printed a boarding pass in their life can still get stuck at a checkpoint if their name on the booking does not match their license. A 40-year-old business traveler juggling 3 connecting flights can still lose valuable time if their pre-check quietly expired during a busy work season, and a college student flying home for the holidays can still be confused walking up to a kiosk that behaves differently than the one at their home airport last year. The truth is, airport technology is changing faster than most people, regardless of age, are keeping up with it, which means the advantage does not go to the youngest traveler or the most experienced flyer. It goes to whoever took 5 minutes to check their documents and their apps before leaving the house. So whether you are flying for the first time in years or you fly every single month for work, the preparation habits in this video apply to you exactly the same way. Because the airport of 2026 does not ask how old you are, it only asks whether you are ready. The truth is, the fastest airport experience now depends on digital readiness, not luck and not how many times you have flown before. The travelers gliding through checkpoints in seconds are not special. They simply checked their documents, their apps, and their expiration dates before they ever left the house. That is the entire secret. Preparation instead of assumption. If this video helped you understand what has actually changed at airports this year, subscribe to Fly Smart After 70 so you have this same kind of guidance ready before your next trip. And leave a comment letting us know which one of these changes surprised you the most, because your next flight deserves to be smooth, not stressful. And the good news is that none of these changes require you to be a technology expert. They simply require a few minutes of preparation before you leave the house. A checked expiration date here, an updated photo there, a charged phone in your pocket. Small habits like these are quietly becoming the real difference between a traveler who breezes through the terminal and one who spends their morning standing in the slowest line at the airport. So take what you learned today, apply it before your very next trip, and let the rest of the airport catch up to you instead of the other way around.